Rashad Richey is at it again. No, I'm not referring to his fake Juris doctorates. You know, the ones that are so fake that he can't even figure out which ones he actually has. None of them.
Get over there. Don't be hitting your head with the brain freeze. Come on, you want silver balls on it?
And no, I'm not referring to his fake Alzheimer's cure. You know, the one where he places his patented medical device on people's heads, which shines a strobe light in their eyes and massages their scalp. Oh, I forgot the part where the patients walk barefoot to absorb the earth's healing rays. And I'm not making this up. Just watch my video.
You ain't got no Alzheimer's. What's wrong with you?
No, this time Rashad is claiming that he has finally reached the pinnacle of success. He has earned his PhD in physics. Yes, physics. You see, when it comes to lying about your intellect, why not go for the big enchilada? He even managed to rope a legitimate physicist, although not much of one, into his foolishness. Here's a picture of Rashad with his new PhD, and yes, the Paris Graduate School diploma mill who bestowed on him his degree, gives out 8.5 by 11 diplomas that appear to have been printed at Kinko's for a doctoral degree. What you're about to hear is a magical tale that belies belief. If someone ever wrote his physics biography, it would need to be shelved under fantasy. And even then the readers would probably yell,
"Oh, come on."
So, we will need to dissect this man's PhD. But to do that, we first need to look at the research that launched his career. And I'm warning each of you that if your middle schooler decides to demonstrate this experiment in class, just let him know that the other kids will probably make fun of him, as will his teacher. And you. And so let the show begin. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
So this is Rashad's dissertation committee. This is Suha Akiki, who founded the Paris Graduate School and operates it. Her background is in international relations. This man is Fuad Nora, who studies political science. And here is Willie Rockward, who's on the physics faculty at Morgan State University. And if you're wondering why Morgan State doesn't have any Nobel Prize winners, you'll wonder no more after you see Rashad's experiment that earned him this doctorate. Now, why pick on Morgan State? Well, if you go to Rashad's social media accounts, you'll read, "I'm thankful to my doctoral committee and doctoral committee chairman, physicist Dr. Willie S. Rockward, Department Chair of Physics and Engineering Physics at Morgan State University, working collaboratively with Paris Graduate School in Paris, France, fostering international collaboration and scholarly research." Ooh. So Willie, who isn't on the faculty at Paris Graduate School, served as Rashad's thesis advisor, which means he guided Rashad's experiment. By the way, how does one serve as a graduate advisor for a student when he's not on the faculty of that student's institution? I mean, what? Beyond that, Willie threatened to sue me if I ever emailed him again after I emailed him about Rashad's phony degrees. That's right, Willie threatened to sue me because I notified him of Rashad's dishonesty. And he used his Morgan State email address to do so. Like, how would he even have any standing in court? He wasn't damaged. But then again, Morgan State isn't exactly the breeding ground of intellectual thought. Now let's take a look at Rashad's experimental setup. What you see is an optical bench, which is heavily damped to rub out any vibrations in the room. The bench is tapped to allow the scientists to screw down any apparatus used in the experiment. What we see here is probably a liquid nitrogen tank. And what? Oh, my wife is telling me that this isn't Rashad's lab setup. Okay, give me a second. Okay, here it is. Yes, that's a table lamp with the lampshade removed. Notice that he's screwed in a red bulb. He probably was able to do that without Willie's help. No, that is not a laser. It's a red incandescent bulb, like you would use to advertise St. Valentine's Day at a strip club. I'm not sure what this is, but it looks like some furniture knick-knack like your aunt would give you, and then you tell her, "Oh, thanks. Yeah, it looks great." But then you turn around and sell it off at a garage sale. But Rashad actually cut a video where he explains his experiment. Oh, this is going to be good. Watch.
You have an advanced quantum PAR meter. This meter is developed to detect photonic ranges between 400 nanometer to 700 nanometer plus minus 10 nanometer scale.
Advanced? Okay, you too can own an advanced light sensor for $80 off Amazon. And you know why Rashad picked this particular light meter? It has quantum for a product name. But there's nothing quantum about it. It's a light meter, like they use for photography, except this one is used for plants so that you can make sure that they're getting enough sunlight. Don't let the fancy wavelengths and nanometer unit measurements fool you. 400 nanometers to 700 nanometers is the wavelength range of visible light. That's right, this device has the frequency range of your eyeballs. But let's go back to the 400 nanometer to 700 nanometer in the title of his experiment. Rashad, that's the range at which your detector can detect, not the frequency of light used in your experiment. You used a red bulb, so the frequencies were all fairly close to 700 nanometers. If you wanted 400 to 700 nanometers, why did you use a red bulb? This just goes to show you that he doesn't understand wavelength or the electromagnetic spectrum.
It is utilized to describe and diagnose in a particular way. Photosynthetic properties utilized to ensure that plants are receiving the proper saturation of that wavelength of light in order to engage in the process of photosynthesis.
Translation. This device is used to make sure that your plants are getting enough light. Yes, that's all he's saying.
Now, this is an incoherent red light. I have incoherent light all over this place. It's up here, here, it's around me, it's here, okay? Room temperature is about 71 degrees.
Wow, you would have incoherent light all over your room. And if you open a window, you'll have another source of incoherent light. Light a candle and you'll have another one. So yeah, the light you have shining in this room is not being created by lasers. Okay, I guess that's impressive somehow. And with that, you start to get the understanding that Rashad doesn't know what coherence really is. That's okay, most people don't. But then again, most people don't try to claim a PhD in physics. Oh, and I suppose knowing the temperature of the room changes everything. What? No barometric pressure readings? Come on. What about the volume of the room? You're not going to tell us that?
The sensor is very small on the top. It's right there, that top sensor, okay? Now, if you introduce a item, you will get a decrease in the field significantly.
Yes, the material blocks the light, so you get less light. Got it.
Okay, and it contains a decrease, all right? And then you remove that item. This is the material before any mechanical processes or engineering processes.
Yeah, it looks like cheesecloth or burlap. It's some sort of gauze, probably left over from his last wisdom tooth extraction. Fine.
Okay. I'm also going to introduce in the field some of the more traditional net formation.
The field is saturating the entire room. You're not introducing the material in the field. If the light is hitting the material, it's already in the field, assuming that you're talking about the electromagnetic field created by the light bulb, which I like to call light.
Just to see what the effect may be. And with that, you see it drops as well immediately because basically it's blocking. Okay, so you have those. And a white cotton mesh, which is not engineered, obviously. What happens if you introduce that to the field? And it drops. All right. Now,
Feeling dumber yet? And no, it's not your eyesight. You cannot actually see the readings as he's doing his demonstration. Very convincing.
another more sophisticated model. This is utilized in the actual lab.
Yeah, it's not real sophisticated. It must have cost many thousands of cents. But you're claiming that, well, this is not the most sophisticated model, not like the one we used in the lab. Why don't you use the one in the lab to do your demo? And the answer is, he doesn't have a lab apparatus.
We're developing, where we sit it down basically, and we allow it to just do what it do. So that's your non-lab engineered natural cotton mesh. When you have it in the system, as you can see, it drops the field down to 6.17.
6.17 what? Gallons? Acres? No units? I thought you were a scientist.
All of the peer-reviewed data suggested that the cotton would actually drop the baseline reading by roughly 50%. So they are correct. Okay.
Well, that wouldn't be the baseline that's dropping, but okay.
I remove, it will then go back up. There you have it. Now,
that's right. When you remove the mesh between the bulb and the light meter, more light reaches the light meter.
I'm going to introduce the actual lab engineered metamaterial. As you can see, it doesn't seem very friendly to photonic rays getting through, especially considering the other ones that we have tested.
Photonic means light. So by being unfriendly to photons getting through, he means it's opaque. And it's obviously a tighter mesh than the cotton mesh used earlier. So much for controlling variables.
It turned off. I'm going to turn it back on. Okay. Has a sensitive timer.
Yeah, the timer is real sensitive. After a minute or two, it turns off automatically. You know what else has a sensitive timer? My microwave. When you push the popcorn button, it turns off after 2 minutes. It's real sensitive.
And they passing. This is not passing.
Okay. All right. So you turn the system back on, and usually you wait 5 minutes for the sensor to warm up. That's just an industry dynamic that we utilize in agronomy.
Industry dynamic that we utilize in the agronomy. In other words, landscapers have learned that it takes about 5 minutes for the light sensor to start working properly.
But it's good to go. Okay, it's good to go. So, excuse the mess, everybody. Been here a while. Now, when I introduce, and you will have some variation with this, but when I introduce the lab engineered material, here's what happens.
For the record, you have here a video that's in portrait mode instead of landscape and then rotate it 90 degrees. And to make it worse, he doesn't have a stand for it. He just waves the cell phone around. I mean, you couldn't find something to hold the cell phone in place?
The field will actually start to go up. It's 9:04 now.
He doesn't even place the cloth between the bulb and the light meter. He just waves the cloth around. And you can't see the screen, so you have no way of confirming anything that he's saying.
Okay, we'll come back here. Okay, so with the metamaterial, I'm trying to make sure you see this with before I'm standing for a moment. Let me go back here. Not sure the camera will ever catch that. Okay. All right, I think we got everything. Okay, let's try again. Of course that happened. Okay. All right, so you're at 883. Let's introduce the material. And now you're at 9. Materials in place. Now you're at 9. 899904. And if you move the material, it'll fluctuate. But here's what's happening. It's not dampening. It enhances. And we've also seen that it is consistent. Now,
what is it? I can't see shit. If you're really saying that the light meter is measuring more light intensity when you pass your metamaterial between it and the lamp, then you can verify that by simply looking at the light bulb and seeing how much of it you can see when passing the material between you and the bulb. Your eyeball and the light sensor are measuring the exact same thing, visible light. Oh, and by the way, if you are really getting stronger light readings after you pass your metamaterial between the bulb and the sensor, then I think conservation of energy becomes kind of a problem for you. And you earlier claimed that the light sensor took 5 minutes to begin measuring, so it obviously isn't terribly responsive. Yet you just wave the material around between the bulb and the light sensor. How is a light sensor expected to measure accurately? Just a tip, Rashad, normally you place the material in a holder and you insert it at a well-defined position between the light bulb and the light meter. That allows you to control the variable distance. You just don't wave it around. Also, you're using a red bulb. Red is low frequency, so it's highly dispersive, which means it's the worst choice of color. But I guess it was the only bulb you had laying around. Using a red bulb means light will bleed around the edges of the material more than for other colors. As such, the holder should have well-defined edges all around and should be thick enough to absorb most of the dispersion so that you know that any light entering the light sensor had to have passed through the material. You can calibrate for dispersion by simply placing a completely opaque sheet into the material holder and noting how much light still enters the light meter. Then you can subtract that reading off from all your other readings. Ideally, you would collimate. That means block out all light from getting to the light meter except that which passes through the material. That would be easy and cheap to do. Just paint cardboard black, roll it up in a tube, and stick the light bulb into one end of it. Then just wrap your super duper metamaterial around the other end. But you never thought of that. These are the experimental techniques they should be teaching in middle school. It's not about the experiment, it's about the process of experimentation. Rashad never learned it.
As I take the material out, I want you to notice what happens. The field fundamentally changes, the photonic field changes to where it doesn't return back to its normative state.
Photonic field? Dude, just say light intensity.
That has been a phenomenon that we have witnessed time and time again, even utilizing some of these other constructs. What I'm going to do.
I didn't see anything. I went back and played it again, and I see nothing that you were claiming. It read 900 before you placed the clock in front of the meter, then 883 afterwards, which is pretty close to 900. Then it went dead because it automatically, and very precisely, shut off. And you, the physics genius, couldn't get a student to hold the camera while recording this? Oh, that's right. He's doing this in his house.
Is utilize the same two materials that we just demonstrated. Okay, so you have your Tesla coil here. It is lighting your light, and this is non-engineered, and it's doing nothing. All right, so you go here, nothing.
Well, how do you know it's not doing anything? You don't have any actual measurement devices in place here.
Nothing. Okay, let's go to lab engineered stuff. The one that just manipulated the light field of a quantum sensor. What happens? Let's get all of it. That happens.
Wow, this metamaterial must be some high-tech stuff. That can be the only explanation as to why the fluorescent light turned off. If this metamaterial really does some amazing tricks with the electromagnetic field, why isn't it doing anything at this point earlier? It's near the Tesla coil. The fluorescent light is still on. So why does the fluorescent light turn off so suddenly? What happened in that moment of time? Well, if you look closely, you'll see that the light turned off right at the moment that the metamaterial touched the Tesla coil. Right there. I mean, hoo boy. How did you not notice that the light shut off when the material touched the Tesla coil? Are you telling us that in previous experimental trials you didn't notice that? This is just plain silly. If this metamaterial really could do something amazing with the electromagnetic field, why use a Tesla coil, which is just a demonstration device? It has almost no use in real physics experiments, and a fluorescent light. We have meters for measuring electric and magnetic fields. You can download an app onto your phone to perform this measurement. Why not use it to map the electromagnetic field strength around the Tesla coil? You know, act like you're at least an amateur scientist instead of a basement bonehead. Now, before any of you say that Rashad is using equipment stolen from a homeless man's tent just to demo his effect, and that the real experiments were performed in a super-duper lab with super-duper equipment, then I would ask, why not use that super-duper equipment for the demo?
That happens. That happens. And it will not come back on. It has fundamentally transformed the field. This is electromagnetic field, which is a quantum field.
The electromagnetic field is modeled with classical wave mechanics. And even if you were modeling the electromagnetic field using quantum field theory, your statement has no relevance here. So what if it's quantum? Glow-in-the-dark paint is a quantum effect. It's called phosphorescence. Ah, hell. I just gave Rashad a new idea for another PhD. This advanced thermodynamic containment device has been coated with my new engineered meta paint developed in my lab, which means I sprayed glow-in-the-dark paint on the refrigerator in my kitchen. Next, I will cancel the electromagnetic photonic flux throughout the room and note that the quantum effect still remains, as if the paint now has quantum memory. In other words, after I turn off the lights, I can still see the paint. That's how Rashad do.
This is a photonic field, red incoherent light.
And with that, you realize that Rashad doesn't understand that the red light is also an electromagnetic field, and that the electromagnetic field generated by the Tesla coil is also a photonic field.
And the fact that it has increased the incoherent light to any level at all, according to the data,
What data? You do realize, Rashad, that you can buy light sensors that capture light intensity data as a function of time that you can download and perform statistical. Oh, look who I'm talking to.
That means that the properties of the metamaterial are so structured, the properties are creating coherence in the medium of the material.
What does that even mean? If you're saying that the light passing through the material becomes uniform in frequency, that would be easy to prove with a spectrum analyzer, which you strangely don't seem to own. Keep in mind that a reasonable spectrum analyzer typically costs around $200, so perhaps Morgan State doesn't have one either. Maybe someone can set up a GoFundMe for their physics department. As for coherence, yeah, I'd like to know how this metamaterial manages to take incoherent light and not only make it uniform frequency, which is required of coherence, but also make it coherent. But again, Rashad doesn't understand what coherence means.
We have demonstrated this now for 2 days. It works on all incoherent light that we've tested. We've also tested oscillating light.
You mean like the light that is emanating from the light bulb? I mean, you do understand that the current traveling through the filament is alternating current, right? That means the light is oscillating. The light is modeled by an electromagnetic wave, which is sinusoidal. Oh man, this hurts my brain.
Come on, ain't no brain freeze gonna make you yell like that, man.
White light, laser light is being thoroughly tested today.
Better yet, why didn't you start with a laser? It's a monochromatic, coherent light source. But then again, the beam of the laser is really thin, and this is a cheesecloth with lots of holes in it. So that laser experiment would be mighty interesting.
Even though the data, the science, says the actual test you're looking for isn't so much the laser test, you do need that information in case it can enhance the coherency of the laser.
What? The light from a laser is already coherent. That's what lasers produce, coherent light. They were invented to do just that. And again, if this metamaterial can enhance the coherence of light, just pull out a spectrum analyzer, which even your HBCU probably has, and find out if it even manages to transform the light into a singular frequency, which is required for coherence.
But it's the incoherent light converting or transforming fundamentally into a different wavelength.
Shine a light through a red candy wrapper and you'll get a different frequency spectrum because the material absorbs certain colors. Big deal.
Oh no, what's going on? I got that brain freeze.
He's going out and buying candy wrappers, isn't he? Rashad, in your tiny little brain, you need to understand how physics works. You think you have developed a material that has cool properties. Okay, sure, but let's assume that your claim is at least worth considering. Then you isolate the functional dependence of one physical property that you control and measure its effect on something else. Because physics is a precise field, you need to use modern equipment, not incandescent bulbs, home furnishings, cheap light meters, and your bedroom. And a Tesla coil? Really? If you really think you're onto something, then you need to publish your results, and any of you can go to Scopus and look for any physics publications by Rashad. Good luck. Rashad's publications are like the lost city of Atlantis. No scientist can find it. Neither could Sherlock Holmes or Humphrey Bogart. And if you don't get the joke, you're not a reggae fan. This experiment is embarrassing, but I can't fault you too much for bamboozling yourself with these demos masquerading as real physics experiments. You're uneducated. No, the real blame goes to Willie Rockford, the physics prof at Morgan State. He's not exactly going to be quantizing gravity anytime soon, if you get my drift. But he should know enough physics to see through this charade. Experiments like Rashad's, and remember, Willie, you served on his graduate committee, do nothing more than damage the reputation of all HBCUs.
Man, you a punk-ass brain freeze mother.
Like my video and subscribe to my channel.